Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a topic that can be the source of some of the best moments in a relationship, and also, let's be honest, some of the most confusing. So if you've ever found yourself totally baffled by your partner's behavior, and you really want to understand things better, this Explainer is for you. We're going to explore some of the biological and psychological factors that shape how we all react and feel. All right, let's get into it.
You know the feeling, right? One moment, everything seems totally fine. And then the next, the whole emotional atmosphere just shifts. And you're left standing there thinking, wait, what just happened? Well, our source material suggests that the answers aren't nearly as mysterious as they seem. It often boils down to understanding two major factors, which we're about to unpack together.
So here's our game plan to get to the bottom of this. We're going to move through 5 parts. First, we'll talk about that mysterious behavior. Then we'll look at the biological reasons behind it. And after that, the psychological ones. Then we'll get into a really practical playbook of what you can do. And finally, we'll see how all this understanding can lead to a much deeper connection.
Okay, so let's just start by acknowledging something that causes a ton of confusion in relationships. Those sudden shifts in mood, the reactions that can feel like they came out of nowhere. If you've ever been blindsided by an emotional turn, you are definitely not alone. Our source material really breaks this down into 2 key influences that we're going to dig into: her biology and her psychological upbringing.
First up is the biological factor, and it's a huge one, the menstrual cycle. Look, our bodies are run by this incredibly complex system of hormones, and for women, the constant ebb and flow of these hormones has a massive direct impact on mood, on energy, and even on perception. Understanding this is really the first, most crucial step to decoding what can otherwise feel like completely random behavior.
Now, what's so fascinating here is how you can actually map out a predictable emotional journey. For the first few days of the cycle, hormones are low, which can mean low energy and just a desire to pull back. Then, as hormones start to rise, she might become a bit more irritable or even bold. As you get closer to ovulation, a big surge of estrogen can bring on this cheerful social vibe. Then, during ovulation, she might feel her most confident and social. It's when a lot of people feel their absolute best. But if fertilization doesn't happen, that hormonal crash can trigger sadness and anger, sometimes leading to what our source calls the thunder and lightning of PMS. It's a really powerful hormone-driven rhythm.
And this, right here, is such a powerful way to think about it. The source suggests we should view these hormonal shifts kind of like the weather. I mean, when it rains, you get wet, right? But you don't blame the rain or take it as a personal attack against you. You just understand that, well, it's raining. In the same way, when your partner is in the middle of a hormonal storm, her complaints might be pointed at you, but the reason for the storm's intensity is biological. It's not a judgment on your worth or the health of your relationship.
Okay, so let's move on to the second major factor, because this builds on top of the biology. Beyond the hormones, cultural influences and just a person's individual upbringing play a huge role in shaping how women often feel, think, and communicate in their relationships. This is the psychological piece of the puzzle.
Our source material points to 5 really common psychological patterns that can come from a typical female upbringing. We're going to look at how being taught to not even be aware of your own needs can lead to indirect communication. We'll also see how past hurts, especially from a father figure, can get projected onto a new partner. And finally, we'll talk about the impact of body image issues and what happens when there just aren't good role models for a healthy adult partnership.
You have to think, for literally centuries, many cultures taught women to be self-sacrificing, to always give and not really take. And that has a real consequence today. A lot of women genuinely don't know how to figure out what they need, much less ask for it directly. So when a need does come up, it can come out sidewise, as a complaint or nagging or a passive-aggressive comment, because asking for it straight up just feels wrong or selfish.
This next one is so important. If a woman grew up with emotional neglect from her father, she may have formed this deep-seated belief that men just aren't reliable, or that they aren't capable of giving consistent love. So in her adult relationships, that belief gets projected or transferred onto her partner. She might just be waiting for you to let her down, or not really love her. And even when you show her genuine love and care, she might not be able to fully receive it because it just doesn't fit the blueprint she has in her head for how men behave.
And finally, if someone never saw a healthy, loving adult partnership between equals growing up, they don't have a template to follow. So in a long-term relationship, they might just default to the roles they do know. A woman might slip into a mommy role, becoming more of a caretaker, or a little girl role, looking for the kind of paternal love she never got. Neither of those roles, though, really creates a partnership of equals.
Okay, So we've covered the biology and the psychology. You could say that's the diagnosis. Now, let's get into the treatment. This part is all about concrete, actionable steps you can take to start bridging these gaps and build a much stronger, more understanding connection with your partner.
And this right here is the core conflict, laid out so clearly. You have this dynamic where in many upbringings, women were taught to ignore their own needs, while men were taught to suppress their emotions. So her difficulty in just asking for what she needs crashes head-on into his difficulty with freely expressing positive feelings. And this is where communication just breaks down, leaving both people feeling completely misunderstood.
So, how do you fix it? Well, the source gives us a 4-step playbook. The first 2 steps are really about overcoming your own conditioning. Praise your partner and show your desire openly. The third is about building trust by actually sharing what's going on inside your own head. And the fourth, which is absolutely crucial, is learning to ask clarifying questions instead of immediately getting defensive. Let's break these down.
So let's dig into the why behind these steps. According to our source, it really boils down to 2 primal needs that drive so much of our behavior in relationships. First, the need to feel desired, to really know that our partner wants us. And second, the need to feel secure, to know that our partner is ready and willing to care for us. And the key word there is ready. It's not about constantly being taken care of. It's about seeing that readiness, because that's what builds a true foundation of safety.
To make your partner feel desired, especially if she has any body image issues, your desire needs to be completely unmistakable. And the advice from our source on this is just brilliant. Express your passion theatrically. Be over the top about it. When she sees you looking at her with total, unfiltered adoration, even if you look a little bit silly doing it, she gets this powerful message that no matter what, you will still want her. And that profound sense of security is what lets her relax and be free with you.
Now, let's talk about that 4th step, asking questions. Remember how we said that unmet needs can sometimes come out as vague complaints? It is so vital to reframe this in your mind. Don't hear it as an attack. Hear it as a kind of clumsy, indirect request for connection. See it as an invitation to go a little deeper.
So, picture this. Your partner says something vague like, "I just need more tenderness," or maybe, "You never care about me." Your first instinct might be to get defensive or just to shut down, right? Because what are you even supposed to do with that?
But instead of that, you just gently probe. You ask clarifying questions. Okay, help me understand. What does tenderness actually look like to you? What specific things can I do that make you feel cared for? You might have to encourage her a little because honestly, she might not even know herself. But by asking, you're doing 2 things. You get a concrete answer, like, I want you to hug me like this when you get home, and you also help her discover and articulate her own needs, which is a huge gift to both of you. So as we start to bring this all together, the goal here isn't to just learn a set of rules for handling your partner. The real goal is to use all this knowledge as a powerful tool to turn misunderstanding into genuine empathetic connection.
And really, this is the most important thing to remember. Understanding all these biological and psychological forces, it isn't about making excuses for hurtful behavior. It's about finding an explanation for it. And once you understand the why, the hormones, the upbringing, the unmet need, you're no longer a victim of confusing behavior. You now have the power to choose how you respond. You can meet frustration with empathy, and you can turn a potential fight into a moment of real intimacy.
This knowledge truly empowers you to change the entire dynamic of your relationship for the better. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. If understanding really starts with asking better questions, what's the first clarifying, connecting question you're going to ask your partner tonight?
Put a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and